Hey y'all, Deep Roots Forge. Quick review on this here Rikon 1x30 belt grinder sander. This is it's a dual combination sander or whatever. It's got the 1x30 belt on this side and the 6-inch flat plate on this side. I think it's a disc sander on this side here. It's a 3/4 horsepower variable speed motor. Got it maybe about 2 years ago maybe, and I've put it through its paces, as you can tell. It comes with a hood here for this, a whole plate attachment on this side to change the belts in and out, a kind of crappy cast table here, and then obviously this side is supposed to have the disc sanding attachment, and it also comes with a table and a little fence. The reason it is off is because shortly after I got this, I behaved like an idiot, as all people do, and ended up throwing this wheel at a square with the table. And even with taking the table off, it was so out of balance that the motor wouldn't run. So I took it all off completely, and this 1x30 has been running just fine. And again, that's more for user error, not so much the machine not doing its job. Again, this thing is 3/4 horsepower. That's why I got it. It can move. It's kind of beastly. It's not intimidating to use, but it is more powerful than the cheaper Harbor Freight 1x30s, or even the Win 1x30s. I think that even only goes up to about a 1/2 horse or 1/4 horsepower motor. The downsides to this is this motor here does actually get pretty darn hot. Like it can cook some pretty good. So if you touch it while you've been working after a while, it'll hurt you. It's nothing terrible, but it does get warm. I mean, if you're already forging and you're making knives and you come over here to the grinder, it's not going to do too much, but again, it is hot. The back plate on this is a little chintzy. These screws I had to replace. You can't really see them here. I actually had to replace these screws. See those screws right there. I had to replace them with some aftermarket things. But this wheel here gets all filled up with crud since I have that plate off. And the main reason for that is just to make the belt change a lot easier. The tensioner is also what keeps the belt aligned. All you do is pull this up and then it comes loose to come off, and you just put it back on. Hard to do with one hand, but it's not too bad. This thing was $188 when I got it 2 years ago. I've seen it on pops now for somewhere in like the low $200 range. It's not bad. I think it's a good investment. Again, if you're in a budget home shop garage like I am, it really is the best bang for your buck. I mean, for 3/4 horse variable speed on a 1x30, and if you're not an idiot and don't throw this side out a square and ruin the whole machine essentially, you can actually square up your handle material instead of trying to have to do the whole granite surface plate and everything, and get it squared up that way, so you actually have good guard or material fit ups, bolster fit ups, all that fun stuff. I honestly can't think of a lot of downsides on this thing. It has done everything that I've needed to do. It's ground a lot of things on it. The biggest, I guess, a drawback, or even, I guess, limitation for this grinder is going to be the user itself. And I say that because this knife right here is an 8-inch, 2¼ inch wide piece of 8670, right? I forged this out and ground it completely on this grinder, and it turned out fine. It's all about how you use it and the belts you use more than anything. But again, this thing, pardon me, if you run it right and you get confident with it, you can attain a level of finish on your blades if they come off the anvil right. You can attain a level of just ease on this thing, especially with handle shaping too. There we go. So this was a little 1084 stock removal blade, but these contours on this handle were all done on that grinder. I mean, you can't really ask for much more than that, and that's repeatable. But again, it takes time to attain that level of skill on any piece of equipment. But if you're doing this as an entry-level tool, you can get to where you can make quality blades coming off the grinder without anything crazy. You don't need the 2x72 or 2x42 or even 2x48s. I mean, they would be great to have, but for those that are limited, as I am or as I have been, or if you're just trying to give yourself the challenge of limited tooling for your first few years to see if you even want to jump up any higher, this is the best place to start, I think. It's more expensive than the lower ends, but again, you can sharpen, you can heavy grind on this thing, and you can do a lot as far as your knife work goes on this grinder. And again, the limiting factor is going to be your ability on it, how comfortable you are following your plunges, making sure everything is square and true and straight, and then also the belts. So I mainly run these Harbor Freight Zirconia 40 or 80 grit belts. I have gotten some Pops belts, some of the ceramic, I think they're the 36 grit VSM belts from Pops Knife Supply. They run on this really well, and they do hog off a lot of material. As far as wood shaping goes, the Zirconia belts are actually really great as long as they're clean of any metal. And then also, you know, the higher end belts you get, obviously the better it'll be. You know, so just take that with a grain of salt. Belts are expensive. It doesn't matter how you slice it. Anything you get, any machine you get, belts are going to be expensive. But I'd rather use a good premium belt on a premium grinder than a good belt on a crappy grinder and not be able to do as much work, or for the work to not be as enjoyable, at least. With this, at least the grinding aspect, which is the least enjoyable part for me, can be done faster because I've got this freaking motor on here that'll just make it go and go, you know? So again, it's just it's a good investment. I'd say if you're trying to do the budget setup, this is going to be your best bang for your buck again. So please like, share, subscribe. Have a good one, y'all.